Hello everyone, welcome back. Today we are going to start our new project called MCQ Quiz Generation Project with Django and ChatGPT API. So let's first of all try to understand the problem statement, and based upon the problem statement then we can understand the complete project development steps, and after that we can start building our project. So the MCQ generation projects. So what happened in our 9th grade and 7th grade, 8th grade classes during the exams, in an exam paper we received and we got some of the MCQ based questions, right, during our exams. So again, as a mentor or as a teacher, if I'm going to create a MCQ based question, so again it will take a lots of time, because first of all I need to check it out the complete concepts. Based upon the concepts I need to generate a questions, and then based upon the questions then I need to generate answers and options, right? So here we are going to build our MCQ based quiz generation application with the help of Django and ChatGPT API, so that whatever the books data that we have or whatever the blocks data that we have or text data that we have, we can enter our complete text data in our Django application, and based upon our text data we can generate a MCQ based questions, options as well as answers. Okay, so here we are going to automate our complete task, because in a school days our teachers and the mentors, they create all the questions manually first. After that they generate some of the options like 3 to 4 options, and based upon those options then they generate answers. Okay, so again it takes lots of time, so that's why here we are going to automate a complete things with the help of Django and ChatGPT API, and based upon this one that we can develop our MCQ based quiz generation application. Okay, so this is a complete problem statement that we have, where whatever the text data that we have, we can enter our complete text data in our application, and based upon that we can generate MCQ based questions, options as well as answers. Now let's try to understand a complete technical requirements. So the technical requirement, before understanding a technical requirements, let's try to understand a complete project development steps. So first of all that we can install a Django, and then we can create our first Django application. Even if you don't have a Django knowledge, no issue, I'm going to cover each and everything from the scratch, a basics, so that you will get the idea about the Django as well. So no worry, you can just watch the video and try to implement one by one all the steps. Okay, so first that we can install the Django, we can create our first Django project. After that we can define a complete exam generation application over our view. So building a Django view, again under the Django we have a many files like views, URLs, settings, server. Okay, so we can understand all the files one by one, no need to worry. Okay, now we have integrating with the ChatGPT API with Django, so we can integrate our ChatGPT API with Django, so that we will get the complete responses based upon our API, and we can store over the our database. So we are going to use a SQLite database, so that whatever the questions and options as well as answers we are going to generate, we can store our SQLite database, and whenever we want we can just retrieve or we can fetch those questions from our database, and then we can use it. Okay, after that we are going to use a bootstrap, so that we can create a complete UI. So apart from this one we are going to use HTML, CSS, JavaScript as well as a bootstrap, so that we can create a complete user interface. Now for storing and fetching the ChatGPT responses in your SQL database, so as I mentioned we are going to use a SQLite database, so that we can store our complete questions, answers, and whenever we want we can fetch the questions from our databases. Apart from this one that we are going to add a download section as well, so that whatever the questions that we have generated we can download as well in a TXT format, or whatever the format that we want, a TXT or the PDF, we can define those extensions. Okay, now let's try to understand a complete requirement. So requirements wise, that I need a 3.7 or the higher Python version. So first Python version 3.7 or higher install in your local machine. Again I will show you the complete steps, how that you can install, how that you can create the new environment, how you can create your first Django application. So each and everything that we can discuss, no need to worry. Now code editor wise, so I'm going to use a VS Code. Now it's totally up to you. You can use a PyCharm or VS Code or the Spider. Okay, but I will recommend you try to use a VS Code because it's easy to use application that we have. Now OpenAI API, so we need a OpenAI API as well. So even I will show you how that you can generate a OpenAI API key. Now let's try to understand how that we can do the complete system setup. So first of all, that we can install our new environment. So conda create -p. This is the complete command that we have to create a new environment. Why a new environment? Because what happened whenever we are going to develop a new projects, okay, every time it's a good practice to create a new environment, because in every project that we have a different types of the requirement. Let's say here in this particular MCQ quiz generation application, I'm using a OpenAI 0.27 version. Now whatever my upcoming project that I have, in my upcoming project I'm going to use a newer version that I can say 1.0. okay, so this is the version mismatch that we have. So it's always a good practice whenever we work on a new project, try to create a new environment so that whatever the requirements that we have, we can install in our new environment. So first we can create a new environment. After that we can activate our environment. So based upon your operating system, let's say if you are using a Windows, so we have this particular command. If you are using a Linux, so we have this particular command. After that we can install a requirement.txt file and then we are good to go. So first of all that we can do the system setup and then we can create our first Django application, and after that we can create our MCQ based quiz application. Okay, so yes, this is all about our system setup. Now let's start building our complete project. For the implementation, I'm going to use a VS Code ID. Now it's totally up to you. You can use any other ID like PyCharm or the Spider. Okay, so let's first of all try to do the project setup. So for the setup that we are going to open our terminal. So new terminal. From here I'm going to select a command prompt. Even that you can use a git bash as well. So it's totally up to you. Now let me select the command prompt and let me delete the PowerShell from here. Okay, now first of all we are going to create a new environment for this particular project. So we have a command called conda create -p env, our environment name, python equal to 3.7 -y. So make sure you can use a same Python version 3.7. So meanwhile what I'm going to do, so let me copy our command, a complete command, so that I will provide you the complete thing. So let me create here readme file, readme.md. Now first create new environment. So we have a command called conda create -p env, our environment name, and with the help of env we are going to create a directory here. So as you can see, env directory that we have. Now python equal to 3.7 version we are going to use. Second, we can activate our environment. So activate our env. So conda activate env. This is the command that we have for Windows. Now let's say if you are using some other operating system like Linux, so in this case that we have a command source activate env. So depends upon your operating system, whatever the operating system that you are using, you can use the command from here. Okay, so now we are able to create the new environment. Now what I'm going to do, let me copy this particular complete command and let me paste here. So conda activate env, we are going to activate our environment. Let me press the enter button. Now as you can see, we are able to activate our environment. So let me clear the screen. Third, that we can install the requirements file. So right now we did not have the requirements file here. No issue, later part we can create, but right now let's try to install a Django first of all. Okay, so we have a command called pip install Django. Let me press the enter button and let me copy this particular complete command from here. Third, install Django. We have a command called pip install Django. Now let's try to understand a little bit about our Django application over the documentation. So we have a official site djangoproject.com. Okay, so in this particular website that you will get the complete details. So as you can see here, the latest version that we have 4.2.7. so by default, whenever we are going to call here a pip install Django, so our pip automatically it will take a latest version of Django. Okay, so even that we have a command, if you want you can check the latest version as well. Okay, now let me click on start with Django. So we are going to start a new project, and here we have our complete procedure. So first, getting started with the Django, install the Django. So now we are able to install a complete Django. Now after that, we have a write your first application. So here we have our complete tutorial. So let me open this particular tutorial. Now writing your first Django app part 1. So first, let's say if you want to check the Django version, in this case we have a command python space -m Django -- version. So with the help of this particular command, you can check a Python Django version as well. Now after that, we can create a new project. So here we have our command called Django -admin start project and my site. Okay, so this particular Django -admin, it's create a new project directory with a specific name, whatever the name that we are going to write. So here we are going to write a my site. It means this particular Django -admin, it will start a new project for us with the name of my site. Okay, so now what I can do, let me go over our terminal. Now here as you can see, we are able to install a Django. Now what I'm going to do, so let me clear my screen first of all, so not here, so that we can write in our terminal. So Django clean. Now in this particular terminal, what I'm going to do, so first of all, we are going to create a project directory. So let's write a command called Django -admin start project, and after that we can write our directory name. So directory name that I'm going to write quiz_project, as we are going to build MCQ generation application with the help of Django. So here we are going to write a command called Django -admin start project. So this particular Django -admin, it will help us to create a new project directory with the name of quiz project. Now let me press the enter button, and whenever I press the enter button, we will get one of the project directory. So as you can see, we are getting our quiz project directory. Now in this particular quiz project directory, that we have a two directory. So the first that we have one directory called quiz project, and second file that we have a manage.py file. Now again, if I open our quiz project directory, so again in this particular quiz project directory, that we have the multiple file called __init.py file, sgi.py file, settings.py file, urs.py file, wsgi.py file. So the multiple files that we have. So don't worry, we will understand one by one all the files. Okay, so whenever we call a Django -admin, so this particular Django, it will create a one directory, whatever the directory name that we are going to define. So it will start our project with the help of same directory name, whatever the directory name that we are going to define here. Now under this particular directory, we have a first one directory called quiz project, and second file that we have a manage.py file. So this particular manage.py file, it will help us to allow to interact with the various Django command and to manage our complete project. So if I show you our manage.py file, so yes, this is the manage.py file that we have, and in this particular manage.py file that we have the some of the library. Okay, and we have a function called main. So define a function main, and after that we have the entry point, so that whenever we execute our manage.py file, it will help us to interact with our various Django command, as well as it will help us to manage our complete entire project. Okay, so don't worry, I will give you the complete description regarding our all the files and all the folders, whatever the files that we have here, like manage.py file, init file, sgi file, a settings file. Okay, so don't worry, you will get the complete description. Okay, even that we can discuss in a session as well. Okay, now after that we have our quiz project directory. So this particular directory will have the some files. It means like the __ init file, settings file, urs file. Okay, so under this particular file that we have some of the, under this particular folder we have some files, and this particular file mainly it will help us to interact with our Django application. So this is the quiz project is a root directory that we have. So now what I'm going to do, let me jump first of all under our root directory called quiz project. So here we are going to write a command cd quiz project. Now let me press the enter button. Now as you can see, now we are under our quiz project directory. Okay, so let me clear my screen now. Yes, so now we are under our main project directory, or we can say we are under our root project directory. Now under this particular directory we have the multiple files. So first file that we have underscore init underscore .py file. So this is the empty file that we have. If I open, so as you can see, this is the empty file that we have, and it marks the directory as a Python package, so that we can call all the files, whatever the necessary file that we have under this particular quiz project directory. So underscore init underscore .py file, this is the empty file that we have, and this is this particular directory that we can use as a Python package. Second, that we have our settings file. So this particular settings.py file, again, so this is the configuration file that we have, where we have various settings, various Django project settings, including the database settings. So if I show you here, so as you can see, base directory, after that secret key that we have, our debug, allow hosted, we have the installed app, whatever the app that we have, middleware that we have, the root directory that we have. Again here we have a template. So in a template, by default, like under our settings.py file, that we by default that we have the SQLite database, but it's totally up to us. We can use any other database, whatever the database that we need. So as you can see here, that we have a SQLite 3 database, but yes, we can use some other database as well if let's say we have a requirement for a MySQL database. So even in this case, that we can use a MySQL database as well. Okay, so this is the settings.py file. This is the configuration file that we have, where we have a various settings for our Django project, including the database setting, a middleware, and many other things that we have. Okay, so even that you can just check it out, this particular settings.py file. So we have authentication password valid. Okay, we have the language, we have the time zone, we have the UST time zone, settings URL, so static URL. Later part that we can use this one whenever we can create the web application with the help of HTML, CSS, Bootstrap, JavaScript. Okay, now after that we have the auto default autofilled. Okay, so these are the some of the settings that we have. Under the settings that we have some of the like the databases settings, we have the middleware settings, we have the some of the application, and many other things that we have. Okay, now after that we have next file called url.py file. So again, this is the configuration file that we have, and it's defined the mapping between the URL and our view of our project. But right now, as you can see, we did not have any view file. Okay, but yes, this particular later part that we can create, don't worry. But yes, this particular urls.py file, as you can see, this is the admin that we have right now, only the admin that we have. Okay, so this particular urls.py file, this is the configuration file that we have. Okay, and it will help us to map in between the URLs and our views file for our project. Okay, now after that we have our WSGI file. So again, this particular WSGI, it means a web server gateway interface. Okay, so this particular WSGI.py file, this particular file mainly that we are using whenever we are going to do the deployment. Okay, so again, WSGI configuration file, this particular file, it will help us to do the complete deployment. Okay, now what I'm going to do, so here now let's try to run our Django project so that we can check it out. Okay, so we have a command here, python manage.py run server. Let me press the enter button, but before this one, make sure you are in your root directory called quiz project directory. So let me press the enter button. So yes, let's wait a few seconds. So now as you can see that we are getting the link here. So let me copy this particular link from here. Now as you can see, this is our Django application that we have, the port number called 8000. Now the installed worked successfully. Congratulations. Okay, so now we are able to create our first Django application, a basics of Django application that we are able to create. Okay, now what I'm going to do, so let me interrupt here. Yes, so now we are able to interrupt here. Okay, so now here as you can see, whenever we run our manage.py file, now we are able to get here a SQLite db.sqlite3, our database file. Okay, now what I'm going to do, so now let's try to create our next directory. So here again that we are going to call our next directory first of all. So let's call here Python. Now let me open our documentation first. So yes, till here that we are able to complete. So we are able to start our project called my site. Now we have our multiple files, so init, settings, url, wsgi, asgi, so multiple file that we have. Now after that, again, as you can see here, we have our complete description. So even that you can check it out, the complete description. So my site is a root directory. In our case, that we have a quiz project directory. After that, we have a manage.py file, we have the init file, we have the setting file, we have the urls, sgi, wsgi. Okay, after that, we run our complete manage.py file to check it out our run server, and yes, we are able to successfully create our application here. So install worked successfully, congratulations. Okay, now after that, next what we are going to do, so here we are going to create our application. So till now that we are able to create the project only. So till now, as you can see, we are able to create a project. Now what we are going to do, so now we are going to create a application. So create the poll application. So in our case, that we can create a quiz application. So we have a command called python manage.py file start app and poll, whatever the directory name or whatever the application name that you want to enter. Okay, so let me go back again, and whenever we run this particular command, it will create a multiple files again, like the init file, admins file, app.py file, migration file, models file, test.py file, and views.py file. So let me go back again in our terminal. So yes, again that we are going to write a command here, a python manage.py start app, and after that we can write our application name, our app name. So I'm going to write my app name called quiz app. Let me press the enter button, and whenever we press the enter button, it will create again one directory, and under the directory that we will get the multiple files. So let me press the enter button again. Now as you can see, we are able to create our quiz app directory, and under this particular directory we have our multiple files. So admin, apps, models, test.py file, views.py file. So the multiple files that we are getting here. Now let's try to understand one by one all the files. So first file that we have, init file. So again, this is the empty file that we have, this is the package file that we have. Now after that, we have the admin file. So this particular admin.py file, this particular file is used to register our apps, or we can say our apps model with the Django admin. Okay, so later part that we can write a complete code in this particular file. Okay, now after that, this particular file that we can customize depends upon our requirement. Okay, like whatever the requirement that we have related to our application, Django application. Next that we have our app.py file. So this particular files again define the app configuration, including the name of the application. We can initialize the function whenever we can run our application, or whenever we run our application. Okay, so this particular app.py file mainly it's include the our application name. Okay, now we have our models.py file. So this particular models.py file, this is like mainly using our ORM, like object relational mapping. So this particular models.py file, this calls our, or this use our complete ORM, object relational mapping, and it represents the structures of our data, like whatever the table that we are going to create in our database. Okay, so let's say we are going to create some of the table, like where we have our client name, we have our client unique ID, some other columns that we have, like the start date, end date. Okay, so these are the features that we can add in our database. So mainly this particular models.py file, it will help us to create our object relational mapping, and the models represent the structure of our data, where we can define a table in our databases. Okay, next we have our test.py file. So again, this particular file is used to write the test of our application. We can create the test cases and then we can run, so that we can check, okay, so our applications are working fine. So mainly this particular test.py file, it will help us to test our entire application. Now we have our views.py file. So again, in a views.py file, so this particular file contains the views of our application, where we can define the logic to process the request, and after that, whatever the request that we can send, in a return that we will get the responses. So what happened, like we are sending the get and post request, right? So again, same way our views.py file it's works. So where we can process our user request, and in a return that we will get our complete responses based upon our user request. Okay, so this particular views.py file, it handle the user interaction and provide the necessary data whenever we can render our templates file. Okay, now after that we have one more directory called migration, and under the migration again that we have the underscore ini.py file. So again this is the package file that we have, but this particular migrations folder, mainly this particular migrations folder, this is to store the database migration. Okay, where in a migration that we can change anything. Let's say that we are going to change in our schema over the time, so after some time that we are going to change. So in this case what happened, our migration file, it will help us to store the complete things in our, like whatever the changes that we are going to do in our databases, it will help us to store the complete things in our migration file. Okay, now what I'm going to do, so let me run first of all one command here. So here that I'm going to run python manage.py, and that we are going to call a migrate. So let me call a migrate, let me press the enter button. Now as you can see here that we are getting the complete output call. As you can see here, apply all the migration, admin, authentication, or contact types, and the session, and everything that we have. Okay, it means yes, all the files a migration is completed. So running a migration and okay, performing first operation to perform. So these are the operation that we are going to perform, and then running migration is okay, it means our running migration is completed. Okay, now what I am going to do, so now let's try to run our main server. So I'm going to call here a python manage.py and run server. Let me press the enter button. Again that we will get one of the link, and with the help of this particular link we can access our application. So let me copy this particular link, let me go over the Chrome. Now I am going to take the new link and then paste. Now you can see our application is working fine till here. Okay, now what we are going to do next, let's try to do some of the modification. Till now as you can see we have our home page only, okay. So now what I'm going to do, so now let's try to create some of the files. So till now we have our home page, so now let's try to create some of the index file, about section, and some other section as well. Okay, so that we will get the basics idea how that we can check or how that we can add the pages in our Django server. Okay, so for this one what I'm going to do, so here we have our, first we have our quiz project directory, second we have our quiz app directory. So now as you can see in our quiz app directory we did not have the URLs file. So let's first of all try to create one of the URLs files. So here I'm going to create one file called urls.py file. Okay, now this particular urls.py file, why that we need this particular urls.py file? So let's try to understand a little bit about this one as well. So this particular urls.py file, this is the configuration file that we have, where we can define the mapping between our URLs and our views of our project. So in our quiz project directory we have the urls.py file, and in this particular urls.py file, so we have the admin. So if I open my browser here and if I write here a /admin, the same /admin that we have in our this one urls.py file. So let me press enter here. Now you can see, okay, so I need to delete this one plus button. Let me press the enter button now. Now you can see this is the admin that we are getting, right? Now if I go back again and if I write something here, so again let me delete this particular admin. Now you can see page not found, that we are getting a plus here. So that's why I'm going to remove this one and let me press the enter. So this is our Django admin file that we have, so we will get the some like user ID and the password, and then we can add whatever the necessary information that we want to add in our admin. Okay, now what I'm going to do, so let me go back again in our browser. So here that we are going to do some of the modification first of all. So what I want, so first of all let me copy this particular complete code from here. Let me go over our this particular urls.py file. So let me paste here. Now here what I'm going to do, so first of all let me remove this particular file and let me go under the views.py file. So under the views.py file, as you can see right now we did not have anything. Okay, so here that we can create our view here. So let me go first of all back in our URL file, and after that what I'm going to do, so here that I'm going to do the some modification. Okay, so let me add here a path first of all. So we are going to call a path, and under the path we are going to add a empty here, empty, and after that here we are going to define the views dot index. So we need to import first of all a views file. So let me import our views file from here. So from our this particular quiz app, so we are going to write here a quiz underscore app dot, or let me directly import, so import views. So this particular views file that we are going to import. Okay, now here that I'm going to call the name, so name equal to, we are going to write, let's say that I'm going to write here the quiz underscore app. Okay, now let me go under our views.py file, and here that I'm going to create a function so that we can access. So here we are going to create a function, define a function to, and the function name that I'm going to define the index. Okay, and in this particular index that we are going to send a request. Okay, so but before this one, let's try to understand why that we need a views.py file. So mainly our views.py file, this contains like complete, it contains the views of our application, where we can define the logic to process our user request, and based upon our user request that we will get our complete responses. Okay, so this particular views.py file, it will help us to handle the user interaction, and at the end it provides the necessary change, unnecessary data to render our templates file. So right now what I'm going to do, so here that I'm going to call the request so that we can send the request, and in a return that we are going, okay, so in a return that we are going to call a return http. So first of all that we need to import a http, so https request or http response. Okay, so because we need a responses, so that's why https response, and here we are going to call the https response, and in this particular response that I'm going to add some of the message like this is our home page. Okay, now what I can do, let me go over our browser, and here that I'm going to call till our, yes, so now this is our application that we have. Okay, so we are getting our same application, so let me go back again, and here that we need to do the some changes. Okay, so let me change. So here that we are going to call a path first, and in a path that we are going to call a empty, as we are calling the empty in our URLs file. So as you can see, empty that we are calling, right? Now after that what I'm going to do, so here that we are going to call the include. So we need to import this particular include, so let me import here, so path include, so path, and after that here I'm going to call the include. Let me copy this particular include here, and in this particular include that we are going to call our quiz file. So let me call our quiz file, so quiz underscore app. So this particular file that we are going to call quiz app dot urls. So this particular urls file that we are going to call. Okay, now let me clear my screen again, and let me run the same command, python manage.py run server. So we are going to run our server. So let me press the enter button. Now you can see we are getting the link. So let me refresh this particular link here. Now you can see we are able to get the return statement code. This is our home page. Okay, so first what we need to do, so we need to define our URLs here, where we can define our views. So we need to define our function, and based upon the function, whenever our views.py file, it will send the request, at the end that we will get the responses. So first that we can send a user request, and based upon the user request then we will get the responses. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, so let me create the multiple function here. So this is the first function that we have, our home page, second function that we can create, third function that we can create. So here now second function that I'm going to create the about page, third that I'm going to create the services page. Okay, now here let me change home to about, and again this particular services that I'm going to change a service like home to services. Okay, now we need to do the modification under our urls.py file. So let me go under the urls.py file. Let me copy this particular complete code from here. Let me paste 2 times. Okay, now this time that we are going to call the about. So slash about and slash services. Okay, now here that we can call the about, and from the about from the views that we need to call our about function, and from our views that we need to call the third one is a services function. So let me call the services here, and here that we need to change the name as well. So let me change the name services and name our about. Okay, so let me go back again. So again we need to, okay, so what I can do, as you can see here we are getting the path. Okay, so we need to add the comma here. So yes, comma, comma. Okay, now let me go back again. So over our browser, now as you can see this is our home page that we have. Now let me add a slash about. Let me press the enter button. Now you can see this is our about page. So now we are able to access our second function called about function. Now let's try to access our third function. So third function that we have a services. So let me call here services. Let me press the enter button. Now as you can see this is our services page. So now we are able to send our complete request, and in a return that we are able to access our HTTP responses. Okay, so in this way that we can create a multiple function or the multiple pages. So with the help of the views that we are going to send a request, and based upon the request we are getting our HTTP responses. Okay, so only we need to do the three modification. First under our views.py file, second our urls.py file, and third our this particular urls where we can include our quiz application. So quiz underscore app dot urls file that we can call. Okay, so in this way that we can access our complete, we can create a multiple pages like home pages or the about pages or the index pages, whatever the page that we want to create. Okay, now we are able to create a basic structure of our Django application. Okay, so now let's try to focus on our main project MCQ generation. Okay, but before this one, let's try to understand a little bit about our all the three files. So till now that we are able to do the modification in our quiz underscore app directory under our urls.py file, as well as under our views.py file, and apart from this one under our quiz project file we are able to do the modification under our urls.py file. Okay, so same structure we can write a code of first that we can define a function. After that we can call our application URL. So this is the our application URL that we have under our quiz underscore app directory urls.py file. So first views.py file, then our application urls.py file, and then our main project urls.py file. So first this particular quiz app urls.py file, then we can write a code under our quiz project urls.py file, so that whenever our user send a HTTP request, based upon the user HTTP request they will receive a responses, or our complete application it will generate a responses. Okay, so in the same structure first we can write a code under views.py file, urls.py file under our quiz directory, and then we can jump into our project directory where we can write a code under our urls.py file. Okay, so let me jump into our views.py file. So under this particular view, as you can see till now we have created a three function. First index function, with the help of this particular function we are going to access our home page. Then about function we are going to access our about page and the services page. Okay, so if I run this particular project, so let me open my terminal so that I will show you. So let me open the command prompt from here. We are going to activate our environment. So conda activate env. Now let me go under our this particular quiz project directory. So cd quiz underscore project, and after that we are going to run python manage.py run server. Let me press the enter button. After that we will get a link to access our complete application. So now you can see we are getting the complete link. So let me copy this particular link. Let me open my browser here. Let me take the new Chrome. Now you can see here we are able to access our home page. So localhost and then our port number called 8000. Let's say if I want to access my about page, so in this case that we can write about. Now we are able to access our about page, and let's say if I want to access my services page, so in this case that we can access our services page. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, so let me add as a comment here. So here that I'm going to add a multi-line comment, because now we are going to focus on our project, our MCQ generation project. Now I'm going to create a function here. So define a function, and the function name that I'm going to pass a home, and this particular home function, it will take one argument called request. Let me close this particular terminal, later part that we can open. Okay, so this particular home function, it will take one request argument, and this particular request argument, it will help us to send a HTTP request. And whenever we as a user we are going to send a HTTP request, that we will get a responses. Our application, it will generate a complete responses. So return, and we are going to call a render, and in a render that we can call a request, because first of all that we need to send a HTTP request, and based upon our request then we will get our complete responses. So in a responses, what we are going to do, so we are going to create our HTML file. So here that I'm going to write a base.html, but right now as you can see we did not have any types of the HTML file. Don't worry, later part that we can create. Okay, so now first function that we have, home function, and in a return statement that we are going to send a HTTP request, and this particular HTTP request, it will generate a complete responses. Okay, in our cases it will generate a MCQ based questions as well as answers. Okay, now what I'm going to do next, let me focus on our next file called urls.py file under our quiz_app directory. So urls.py file, again we have, as you can see, we have here a 3 path with the help of URL pattern. So let me add again a multi-line comment first of all here. So again that I'm going to add a multi-line comment. Now let me create a URL patterns variable, and this particular URL patterns variable, it holds our entire data in a list. Okay, now what we are going to do, in a list that we are going to define a function name called path. So path function that we are going to define here. So path, and this particular path function, mainly it takes 3 arguments. As you can see, again here we have a total 3 arguments. So it's always takes the 3 arguments. So the first argument that we are going to define here, a empty string. Now second that we are going to call our function name from our views.py file. So the function name that we have, the home. So here we are going to call views.home our function name, and then third argument that we are going to define a name. So name equal to we are going to call a same name, call our function name, whatever the function name that we have, so home. Okay, so this particular our third argument, name equal to home, it provides the unique name for our URL, always a unique name for our URL. Okay, now let's try to jump into our quiz_project folder, and here that we have the urls.py file, and under this particular urls.py file, as you can see, again that we have the URL patterns variable. Again is taking the complete information, a complete data information into the list. Now here we have a 2 path function. The first that we have our admin. So with the help of this particular admin that we can access our admin portal for our Django application. Second, we have a path function called, here again we have a 2 argument. First is a empty string. Second that we are going to include, first of all that we have imported our include function. Again here as you can see, import the include function from the Django URL, django.url, and import the include a path, whatever the information that we want. Okay, now add a URL pattern. So path blog, let's say if I want to add some new pages, in this case that we are going to call a blog, and then include our blog.urls. Okay, so from here what we are going to do, so we have our quiz_app directory. So from our quiz_app directory we are going to include our urls.py file. So this particular file that we are going to call, so that we can access a entire information, whatever the information that we have under this particular urls.py file. So that's why here we are going to include from our quiz_app directory, from this particular directory, our urls.py file. And in this particular file, if I show you, so we have a code to access our home page, our from views.py file. So we are going to access our home page. Okay, now what I'm going to do, so let me create one directory under our main project directory. So this is our quiz project main project directory that we have. Here I'm going to create one directory called templates. Okay, now in this particular templates we are going to create one HTML file. So if I check our views, so yes, we have our base.html. So let me create a base.html file here. So base.html. Later part we can write a code, so don't worry, later part that we can write a complete code under this particular base.html file. Okay, now what I'm going to do, so let me jump into our settings file. So if I show you, so under our quiz project directory we have our settings.py file. In this particular settings.py file we have a multiple things. So we have our base directory, we have our secret key, we have our here installed apps. So whatever the installed app that we have, like the admin, authentication, a contact type, session, message, static file, we have the middleware. So mainly this particular static, or we can say our settings.py file, so this particular file that we are using so that we can configure our file where we have our various settings like the Django project, we have the databases including the databases setting, or the middleware, like the middleware, so this particular variable. Okay, so under this particular settings.py file that we are going to do the little bit modification so that we can access our templates directory. So we are going to do the modification in this particular variable, our templates directory, templates variable, so that we can access this particular templates folder. Okay, so here what I'm going to do, so here I'm going to add one, or we have here variable called directory. Now in this particular directory we have a empty list. Now let's try to write a code in this particular directory variable. So we are going to write os dot a path dot join, and here we are going to call our base directory. So let me check it out, we have our base directory or not. So yes, we have our base directory. So as you can see, build the path inside the project like the base directory. So we are going to call here a base directory under this particular template. So base directory, and after that we can call from our base directory. So what is the base directory that we have here? So base directory that we have a quiz project. Under this particular quiz project that we have our templates directory. So let me call a template directory here. So templates directory, we are going to call this particular directory. So first of all that we are going to call our base directory. From our base directory we are going to call our templates directory. Now I need to import OS. So let me import here, let me go up, and here we are going to import OS library that we are going to import. So now let me check it out. Yeah, so okay, so yes, now it's gone, whatever the error. Okay, now from this particular templates variable we are going to access our templates, this particular directory, so that we can access our base.html file. Okay, now what I'm going to do, so second modification that we can do in this particular file, in our static file. So let's first of all try to create one of the static file. So what we are going to do, so let me go first of all under our quiz project directory. So this is the quiz project directory that we have, and in this particular directory I'm going to create one directory called static. Now in this particular static directory we can create a CSS file. Okay, so that we can design our base.html file. Okay, so now here we are going to do some of the modification in our static file. So first of all that we need to access our static directory, same way whatever the way that we are able to access our templates directory, same way that we are going to access first of all our static directory here. So let me access. So first of all we are going to create a variable static files underscore directories equal to, here again in a list that we are going to call os dot path dot join. First of all that we can call our base directory, so base directory, and after that we can call our quiz project. So this particular directory that we can call, so quiz underscore project, and from the quiz project directory we are going to access our static directory. Okay, so in this way that we can access our static directory, whatever the under the static directory, whatever the going forward that we can create a files. Okay, now let's try to define a root. So again that I'm going to create a static underscore root equal to os dot path dot join, and here that we can call our base directory and our static file. Okay, so with the help of these 2 lines of the code that we are able to access our static directory, and the later part that we can write a complete code under this particular static directory. Okay, now what we are going to do, so now let's try to run our complete application, but before this one let's try to write a complete code under our base.html file. So yes, this is our base.html file that we have. Now let's try to write our complete code in this particular file. So yes, this is the complete code that we have. Now let's try to understand this particular code first of all. So here we are going to load our static file. So whatever the directory that we have created, static, later part that we can write a code under this particular directory. Okay, so first that we are going to load our static directory. Here we have our complete title, so quiz app. After that, here as you can see, we are going to define our body. So in this particular body that we are going to define our complete question generation. So this is the title that we are going to define, so question generation title, and then we have our complete my quiz, and under the my quiz that we have our align a text box. So based upon the text box that we can write entire text, and based upon the text then it will generate our complete MCQ based questions. Okay, so MCQ based question it will generate. Now after that, here as you can see we have our block content. So with the help of block content that we are going to create a quiz, and then here we are getting our complete generated questions as well as answers that we are getting. Okay, so this particular code that you can understand, this is the HTML file that we have, so you can understand. Okay, now what I'm going to do, so let me open my terminal, and from here let me run my application. So python manage.py and run server that we are going to call. So let me hit enter and let's wait some time. Now you can see that we are getting the complete link. So let me copy this particular link from here. I'm going to open my browser and let me paste this particular. Okay, so not this one, I need to copy this particular link from here. Let me go again, and from here that I'm going to copy this particular link. Let me open my browser. Let me hit enter. So now as you can see, this is the complete application that we have, a quiz app, question generation. So if I show you our HTML file, so in our HTML file that we have the question generation and the my quiz, and here that we have the create a quiz. So we can write a complete text and then we can generate an answer. If I'm going to click right now, so right now as you can see we did not have anything because we have not mentioned a code related to generate a questions. Okay, so till now here we are able to create our complete web page application. Later part that we can write a complete CSS code here as well. So what I can do, let me go over our CSS code. So here let me go in this particular file, static file, and here I am going to create one CSS file. So dashboard dot CSS. Now let me write a code here and let me refresh our pages, reload. Okay, so look like I need to rerun my complete file from here. So let me clear the screen, and then again that I'm going to run our Python server. So let's wait a few seconds, and after that we are going to reload this particular file. Let's reload. Okay, so look like I need to check my CSS file. So yeah, this is fine. This is the designing part that we have, so no issue. Okay, now what we are going to do next, that we can create our complete Django application, a quiz generation, MCQ quiz generation Django application that we can integrate with ChatGPT. Okay, so what I'm going to do next let's try to build our complete quiz generation application. Okay, so for this one what we are going to do here, so we can write a code under our, let's start with our first our services page. Okay, so what I'm going to do here, first let me go under our, let me close this particular application here. Let me go over our quiz underscore app.py file, and in this particular quiz underscore app.py file we are going to create a 2 new files. Okay, so the first file I'm going to create here a config.py file. Second file I'm going to create here a services.py file. Okay, so 2 files that we are going to create. Now what we are going to do, first of all let's try to import some of the important library under our services.py file. Okay, and then we can write a complete function to generate a questions, a MCQ questions. Okay, so what we are going to do, let's try to import first of all some of the important library, like import OpenAI. Again, that we need to install OpenAI library, so later part that we can import, no issue. Now from our files that we are going to import config, so we are going to import a config. So right now, as you can see, we did not have anything under the config file. We can write a code, don't worry. Okay, now we are going to call our API, so we can define our API key under our config.py file. So let me write it down here. So OpenAI dot API underscore key equal to config dot API key. So we can create one variable called API key under our config file, and here we can define our complete OpenAI key. Okay, so how that we can get our OpenAI key? So for this one, that you can just go to the Chrome browser. After that, you can just write here openai.com. You can just go to the official website, and after that you need to sign up first of all, and then you can log in. So if you are a new user, in this case, try to sign up. After that, we will get this types of the window where we have a ChatGPT and the API. So we can click on the API button. Now here, as you can see, we are getting the API key option. So you need to click on the API key, and from here you can generate a new secret key. So you can write any name. So this is the optional. Then you can click on the create a secret key, and after that you can generate a new secret key, and whatever the secret key that you will get, same secret key you just need to paste here. Okay, now next what we are going to do, so next that we are going to create a function to generate a questions, MCQ based questions. Okay, so let's try to create a function first of all. So here that I'm going to create a complete function. So first that we are going to create a function here. So let me go under our services page. Okay, now here I'm going to create a function first of all. So define a function to generate questions, and this particular function, it will take only one argument called text, because based upon the text then we can generate complete questions. Okay, now let me write it down a pass right now. Let's try to create one more function. So the second function that we are going to create here, define a function to initialize a database, because whatever the questions that we are going to create, we need to store under our databases. Okay, so that if we want, we can download those particular questions as well as answers. So that's why we are going to create a database. So initialize a database. Okay, now again later part that we can write a code under this particular function as well. So two functions that we are going to create. A first function that we have initialize database, second function that we have our generate a questions. Now third function that we can define a function to check our database is exist or not. So key underscore exist or not. Okay, now again let me write it down a pass right now. Next that we can define a function to print our all the questions, whatever the questions that we have generated with the help of this particular function. So print all questions. Okay, now again that we can write a complete code later in this particular function. Okay, so total 4 functions we are going to create in this particular services.py file. Okay, so now what I'm going to do next let's try to write a code first of all under our generate questions function. Okay, so here, or let's start with our initialize databases. So okay, so first of all that we are going to connect our database. So let me write it out a comment here. So connect to the SQLite database, a SQLite database. Now here we are going to create a connection first of all. So connection equal to SQLite, or SQLite, we can write a SQLite 3 dot connect, and here that we are going to write, let's write in this way. So questions.db, so questions.db that we are going to create. So let me write it down in this way, where we can define this particular complete questions db under this particular string. Okay, so we need to import SQLite. So let me import a SQLite first. So import SQLite. Okay, so I hope here now it will gone. Yeah, now what we are going to do, so now we are going to call our connection. So let me call this particular connection. So here cursor equal to connection dot cursor. Okay, now after that we can create a table. So let's create a table if it doesn't exist. So if it doesn't exist, so we are going to create a complete function here, complete table here. Okay, so cursor, this particular variable that we can call, so cursor dot execute, and here we are going to create a complete table. So let me write it down in a multi-line comment. Okay, so create a table if not exists, and here that we can write a question. So questions, and after that we can add a id as well. So id, we are going to set id as an integer, a primary key. Let's add as a primary key. Now we are going to set a key as a text, and the unique text. Okay, so unique text, and after that we can add a value. Okay, so these are the things that we are going to add, and value that we can add again as a text. So value as a text we are going to add. Now again that we need to write a multi-line comment, and then we can close. So let me close. Okay, so this is the complete table that we are going to create. Okay, now let me commit, and after that we can close. So con dot commit, and then we can close. So con dot close. Okay, so this is the complete function that we have created, and with the help of this particular function, first of all that we are going to connect our database, and after that we are going to create a complete table. Okay, now let's try to focus on our next function. So next function that we have our generate question. So first of all that we can call this particular initialize database function. So let me call this particular function. So initialize database function we are going to call. Now we can connect first of all with our database. So let's connect to the SQLite database. So we are going to connect with our SQLite database. So con equal to, let me copy and paste the same code, whatever the code that I have here. So let me copy and paste. We are going to connect with our database. Okay, now what we are going to do, so now that we can define our prompt, and this is the very important point that we have the prompt, because based upon the prompt then it will generate a complete MCQ questions. Okay, so whenever we are going to define a prompts, we follow some of the steps. Okay, we always follow some of the steps. So first that we can define a variable where our variable holds the complete text, or we can say our variable holds a complete prompt, so that based upon the prompt then we can generate a complete questions. Okay, now in a prompt what we need to do, so we need to define the instruction. So first that we need to define, okay, so based upon our complete text, how many questions, the number of the questions that we need to generate. Now after that, where and how our answers should be displayed. Third, what types of the questions that we need to generate via our ChatGPT, or we can say the OpenAI API, like the multiple choice or the fill in the blanks. So steps of the questions that I want to generate. So those things that we need to define. First, number of the question. Second, where and how our all the correct answers should be displayed, and what types of the questions that we can generate with the help of OpenAI API key. Okay, so those things that we need to define. So what I'm going to do here, so I have my complete prompt. I'm going to define my complete prompt here. So let me copy my complete prompt, and then we are going to paste here. So let me write it down in this way so that you can check it out. Yeah, so this is the variable that we have created, a prompt. Create a practice test with the multiple choice questions on the following text. Each question should be on a different line. Each question should have the four possible answers. Okay, so based upon each question should have the 4 possible answers. Under the possible answers, B should have the correct answers. Okay, so first for MCQ question, for MCQ, like the type of the question that we can create, and based upon those particular questions, then we can generate a complete correct answers. Okay, now in this way that we can write a complete prompt. Now what we are going to do? So next that we need to define the responses again. So here that we are going to call a generate questions using the ChatGPT API. Okay, now here we are going to create a variable called responses. So under the responses that we are going to call OpenAI first. So OpenAI dot, under the OpenAI that we have the function called completion dot create. So let me call a completion dot create, and this particular completion dot create function, it will help us to generate a complete questions based upon our prompt. Okay, now let me go here, and after that this particular completion dot create function, it will take a multiple argument where we can define our model, whatever the model that we want to use, a prompt, a maximum tokens, temperature. So those things that we need to define. So let me go over our OpenAI platform, and under the OpenAI, if I go here, and here we have our complete, we can just search, or let me go over the playground. Okay, so let me search OpenAI documentation, and let me go over the OpenAI documentation. Now under the OpenAI documentation, as you can see, we have the model section, and here we have a multiple model. Okay, so from this particular model, as you can see, we have the GPT-4, GPT-4 Turbo, GPT 3.5, DALL-E, TTS, Whisper, embedding, moderation, GPT base. So multiple model that we have. So what we are going to do, from here we are going to use a DaVinci model, text DaVinci 3. So let me copy this particular model, and this particular model, as you can see, can do the language task with the better quality and consistency than the baggage. Okay, so that's why we are going to use this particular model, and this particular model is works on the text data set. Whenever we have the language task, based upon the language task that we can use. So here that I'm going to define engine equal to engine, a model that we are going to define. So engine, and in a engine that we are going to call our model a text DaVinci 3 model that we are going to use. Now we can use our prompt. So prompt equal to this particular prompt variable that we can call our prompt variable here. Now next that we can define our max token. So okay, so how much token questions that we want to generate. So max tokens equal to that we are going to define, let's say a random number that I'm going to define 3500 tokens data that I want to pass. Now stop equal to none that I'm going to call, and next argument that I'm going to define a temperature. So temperature, and this particular temperature, it's help us to randomize, like not a randomize, that we can see the randomness of our output. Okay, so it holds a randomness of our complete input and output. So here we are going to call the randomness a 0.7. So 0.7, it means the 70%. Okay, now after that we are going to extract the generated questions from our API responses, whatever the responses that we are getting here. So now it's time to extract a complete responses. So here we are going to call extract the generated questions from the API responses. Now questions equal to response dot choice, and from the choice we are going to extract a first information of first data, and from the data that we are going to extract the text only. Okay, so we are going to extract a complete generated questions, whatever the generated questions generated questions that we have respond here. So this particular whatever the response that we have here, so based upon this particular response we are going to extract our complete generated questions. Okay, now next what we are going to do, so next that we are going to define a key for our question. So generate a key based upon our question. So let me write it down the comment here. So generate a unique key for our questions. Okay, now here we are going to define first of all a base key. So base underscore key equal to here dot join, and in this particular join that I'm going to call text, whatever the text that we received here. So this particular text, so text dot split, so we are going to split our complete text, and from this particular text that we are going to take the last element, second last element. Okay, now we are going to define a variable called key, and in a key variable we are going to pass our this particular base key. After that we can define an index, so index equal to 1, and then we are going to write a complete while loop, and based upon the while loop then we can generate one by one questions and we can store over our databases. Okay, so here I'm going to call a while loop. So while key exists, so if let's say if this particular function exists, so let me write it down first of all, this particular complete function, and then we can go back to this particular code. Okay, so let's try to write a code here first of all. So key exists, so this is the function that we have, and this particular function is takes two argument, first a cursor and second argument a key. Okay, now we are going to execute whatever the information that we have saved in this particular database. So let's try to execute. So here we are going to call cursor dot execute, and we are going to select our database. So select count of our complete data, so all count all from our, what is the database name that we have here, a questions. So questions where we have the key. So key, right now we did not have any key, so key equal to what that we are going to add. Okay, so key equal to what. Now after that we are going to call a count, so that one by one based upon our text that we can add. Okay, so the question number 1, question number 2, question number 3. Okay, so count equal to cursor dot fetch on, and here we are going to define the list, so starting from the first question. Okay, now we are going to count, so we are going to return, so return a count greater than 0. Okay, so this is the first key exist function that we have created, and based upon this particular key exist function that we are going to access. Okay, so key, so this particular key that we are going to call here, so where key equal to what. Okay, so this particular key that we need to pass in this way, so here that we have our complete key, and after the key that we need to pass here, so key, and now next that we can pass here our this particular key, so key. Okay, now what we are going to do next, let me go back in our previous function. So here we are going to call a key exist function, again it take the two arguments. So let me copy this particular two argument here, let me define. Okay, now after that we are going to create a variable called key, and we are going to write a f string, and in a f string that we can define our base key, so this particular base key that we are going to call, and after that we are going to define our index, so 0, so starting from the index 1. Okay, so the first question that we can set index number, question number 1, 2, 3, so on. So we are going to increment every time with 1, so index plus 1. Okay, so first that we are going to start our question index number 1, then we are going to increment every time with 1. Okay, now after that we are going to insert the questions into our database. So let's try to insert questions into our databases. Okay, so now we are going to call the value first of all, so value equal to our database, so value equal to questions. Now in this particular value, now we can call our cursor, so this particular cursor variable that we are going to call, so that we can execute our, and then we can insert our all the questions. So cursor dot execute, and in a execute then we are going to call insert statement, so insert into our database, so the database name that we have a question, so questions, and in this particular questions that we are going to define a key, so questions as well as a values. Okay, so key and values that we are going to call, and here that we can define a values starting from the this particular what symbol that we can call. Okay, so right now we did not know our key as well as our value. Okay, now after that, next that we can define our complete key and the value. So let me define this particular complete key from here, or let me copy and paste this particular key and values from here. Okay, so we have the our issue, so let me check it out once. So key and the value that we are calling here, so key and the value that we need to call in this way in a bracket. So key and value. Now after that we need to remove this one, and here that we need to close. Okay, so again that I'm getting the error here, a values, I don't know a value. Okay, so again that we need to enter this one is in a bracket, key and value. So now I hope this is fine. So key that we have, and the second that we have our value. So let me check it out. So insert into the question, so we are going to insert. Okay, so again that we have there is a bracket, we need to write into the bracket. Okay, so key and values, we are going to call the values, and here this is the value that we have, and after that, so this particular values that we are getting the issues. So why that we are getting the issues here? So we have the, okay, so we have the variable mismatch, so let me call this particular variable here values. Okay, now next that we are going to commit, so connection dot commit, and after that we can return our questions. Okay, so we are going to return our complete questions. Okay, so now we are able to generate complete questions, and after that we are able to set a question number, or we can say the index number 1 2 3. Every time we are going to increment with 1, and then we are able to insert into our databases. Now it's time to print our all the questions into our web application. So first that we are going to call our initialize database function. So this particular function we are going to call here, so initialize databases. Now we are going to call our cursor, our SQLite database. So what I'm going to do, so let me copy and paste this particular complete code from here. So first that we are going to connect our database, and after connection of our database, then we can fetch a complete information from our database. So retrieve all rows from the databases. So here we are going to call cursor dot execute, and then we can select the complete question. So select all questions from our database, and the database name that we have the questions. Okay, now we can print, so rows equal to cursor dot fetch all. We are going to use a fetch all function, so that we can fetch a complete questions, and then we can return a rows. Okay, so now we are able to create our all the functions. Okay, now with the help of this particular function, then we can generate our complete questions. Okay, so here what we are going to do in this particular instruction, so always whenever you are going to define the prompt, first of all try to write a clear instruction, define your complete text in a structured format. Okay, so as you can see the complete structured format that we have, our first that we are going to create a multiple choice questions, okay, in a different line. So each question should be in a different line, and each question should have the 4 possible questions. Now under the possible answers, we should have the correct answer. So again that we are going to call the correct answers as well. Okay, now what I'm going to do, so now that we need to do the modification under our views file, so that we can print over our web application, right? So what I'm going to do, let me jump into our views.py file, and let's try to do the modification in this particular complete file. Okay, so let's first of all try to write a code for our home page. So here that we are going to write, let's try to write a complete code here. So what I'm going to do, first of all I'm going to write if else condition. So if request dot, so request dot method equal to post. In this case the text equal to request dot post, and here that we can pass our text. So whenever our users they are going to send a request, a post request, in this case that we can generate a complete questions. So questions equal to, here we are going to call a generate this particular function. So we have a function called generate questions. So let me go under here. So we are going to call generate question function. Okay, so first of all that we need to import here, so let me import. So here we are going to call from dot services, and we are going to import our generate question function. So this is the file name that we have, services. Okay, so we are going to call our generate questions function, and this particular generate question function, it will take only one argument called text, because based upon the text then we can generate a complete questions. Now here we are going to define a variable called context. So context equal to, and in a context that we are going to create a dictionary where we are going to define a questions, and based upon the questions then we are going to call our database. Okay, a questions database. After that we can return a render template. So render dot request, and here we are going to return our base template. So base dot html, and based upon the context, whatever the context that we are going to pass, so context. Okay, so here that we need to close this particular context. Okay, now here we have our complete. Okay, so we have the 2 times comma here. Okay, fine. So this is the first function that we have. With the help of this particular function that we are going to generate our complete questions. Okay, now what we are going to do next that we can open our terminal. So let me open our terminal here. Now we are going to import first of all our, let me open the terminal here. So first of all that we are going to install OpenAI. So let me install pip install OpenAI. It will take a few seconds to do the complete installation. After that we can run our application, our manage.py file we can run, and then we can check it out. We can write it down some of the text, and based upon the text then we can verify, okay, so our application it is able to generate a questions or not. Okay, so let's wait some time. It will take a few seconds to do the complete installation, and after that we can generate some of the questions. We can run our application and then we can generate some of the questions. So let's wait some time because it's taking some time to do the complete installation, and after the installation then we can run our application. Okay, now we are able to install the OpenAI. Now what I'm going to do, so let me run our server. So Python manage.py run server. Let me press the enter button, and after that we can open our application. So it will take a few seconds. So yeah, now performing the system check. Now you can see we are getting the complete link. So let me copy this particular complete link from here. Let me open my browser, and now let me paste here. Okay, so this is the complete application that we are getting. Okay, now what I'm going to do, so let me copy some of the text from the Google, and then we can generate some of the questions. So yes, this is the questions that we have, some of the text that I have copy and pasted. Okay, now let me click on the generate questions. Now you can see it's running. So okay, so a server error occurred, please contact the administrator. So let me go back again here, and okay, so pip install OpenAI equal to 0.28. Okay, so we got the error here. Let me check it out. Why? Pip install, you can pin your installation to the old version, example itna, upgrade your code database. OpenAI, so you try to access the OpenAI completion, but this is no longer supported. OpenAI itna, so see the readme of this one and for the OpenAI, and you can run the OpenAI migrate to automatically upgrade your code database. So 1.10 itna, and alternatively, so what I can do, so this is the OpenAI issue that we have. So let me go over the documentation, official documentation, OpenAI official documentation. Let me find out the latest version. So OpenAI API, let me check it out. The okay, so the client chat completion create, that we can call in this way as well, or let me install our this particular version. So let me interrupt our application. First of all, let me clear the screen. Pip uninstall OpenAI. So first of all, I'm going to uninstall my OpenAI. Okay, so found the existing installation 1.2.4 and let me install the 0.28, this particular version. So mostly 2.7 or 2.8 it will work, but let's try once and let me check it out the latest version for the OpenAI. So OpenAI latest version. So the latest version that we have 1.2.3. okay, so even that we can check it out the PyPI package as well. So 1.2.4 that we have here, but over the Google that we are getting 1.2.3, but let's try with 0.7. okay, so now we are able to install. Now let me run our application. So python manage.py and we are going to call our run server. Again let me open my Chrome and here that I'm going to call a localhost 8000. So localhost 8000, let me press the enter button. Now here we are able to get our complete application. Now let me copy and paste some of the text from Google. So I'm going to copy and paste some of the text here and let me generate. Okay, so now you did not provide the API key. So because of the API key that we are getting the error. So if I show you again our file here, so under our quiz app, under our config.py file, as you can see, we did not have our API key. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to paste my API key. So let me copy and paste my API key here. So yes, this is the API key that I have. Now let me open my browser and now again that I'm going to rerun this particular cell. So let's wait some time. As you can see, it's running. Now again that I'm going to copy and paste my complete text so that we can generate a complete MCQ based question. So yes, these are the some of my text that I have. Let me submit. Meanwhile we can open our, okay, so our applications are working but we are not getting the output here, right? So let me check it out why these things happen. We have our complete questions.db file that we are getting, but we are not getting the, okay, so system check the identify no issue version that we have this one, but we are not able to create the questions, right? So if I go back again in our application, my queues, so get request, we did not have the history anything. Now if I check the question generator, so question generator we did not have anything. Now let me write it down some of the text from here again. Let me check it out. Let me click on the submit button. Okay, so we are not able to get the questions here, right? So let's verify once why we are not able to create. So what I can do, let me go over our file under our server.py file. So this is the service.py file. So this is the complete service.py file that we have, and in this particular file that we have our complete functions. So initialize function that we, okay, so we have some of the issue in a generation. So completion that we are going to call here completion dot create, and we are going to call our engine prompt. These are the prompt that we have the responses, and from the responses we are going to call the choices so that we can generate a complete answers, and from the answers that we are going to call the text. So yes, this is correct, this is correct. So now what I can do, let me rerun my application again. So because I did the changes, so okay, so from the services dot import generate questions. So again we have some issue here. So let me go back again under our views.py file, and here that we have the function called generate questions, right? Generate questions. So let me rerun my application again. So let me clear my screen again that I'm going to rerun my application. Let me go over the browser, and here again that I'm going to call a localhost 8000. Okay, so this is our application we have. Now let me enter some of the text and let's try now what is the issue that we are getting here. So let me paste, let me click on the generate questions. Okay, so now as you can see, now we are able to generate a question. So here as you can see, what is the main topic of the text? So the main topic, the global crackdown on the sources of funding the terrorist group. How much of overall terrorist funding comes from the cryptocurrency? So answer B, a small portion. Now what is the kinds of impact does cryptocurrency have on terrorism funding? So deadly. So I have one of the blogs. So based upon this particular blog that I have copy and pasted the entire text. Okay, now what I'm going to do, so I'm going to select some other blogs as well, so that I can copy and paste some other text. So yes, I have some other blogs as well. So if I show you the complete link, so yes, let me open my browser here, and this is the second link that I have, and let me run this particular link from here. Okay, now from this particular link, what I'm going to do, so again that I'm going to copy this particular complete. Okay, so same types of the text that I have, fine, no issue. So any way to, okay, so let me full the subscribe. Okay, so look like I need to subscribe this one, then I will get the access. So what I can do, economics time, let me go over the economics time website, economics India time, and from here that I'm going to select some of the topics. So let me select some of the topic, or let me select the, yeah, let me select some topics from here, anything that we can select. So this particular topic that I'm going to select, and from here that I'm going to copy and paste some of the text. So this particular complete text that I'm going to copy and paste, and based upon this one that we can generate a complete questions. So yeah, till here let me copy, let me go over our application, let me paste, let me click on the generate questions. Let's wait some time. Now you can see it's running, so it will take a few seconds. Now as you can see that we are able to generate two questions. So what did BB O'Brien receive in 2008? So answer that we have the Padma Bhushan. So let's try to do the googling that this particular question and the answer is correct or not. So BB O'Brien, it's not a BB O'Brien, it's a Vivek O'Brien. Look like it's a BB O'Brien or Vivek O'Brien. Let me check it out once over our complete text. So yes, BB O'Brien, right? So in a BB O'Brien, if I check this particular complete things, so Padma Bhushan in 2008, same questions that we have and the same answer. What did BB O'Brien receive in 2008? So Padma Bhushan. What did BB O'Brien say while accepting the Lifetime Achievement Award? So answer B, it is not a bricks and mortar but our people who have made our hotels known as worldwide. So this is the answer, and in this way that we are able to generate a complete questions and the complete answers. Now let me click on the quiz generator. So here that we are getting the quiz generator app. Now here my quiz. So here this is the like the history that we have not created. So later part that we can create, no issue. So we are able to generate a complete questions and answers based upon our complete query. Okay, so whatever the text that we have, so based upon our text that we are able to generate a complete questions. Okay, next we are going to work on a download section in our application. In our UI we are going to add one section, a download, so that whatever the quiz that we are going to create, that we can download. Okay, so for this one let me open my VS Code first of all, and let me jump into our views.py file. So here we are going to create first of all one function. So let me create a function here. So define a function, and the function name that we are going to write a history, and here we are going to pass one argument called request argument. So this particular history function, whenever we send a request, so based upon our request, first of all it will show our complete output, our MCQ generation questions under the download section, same like in this way that we are going to render our base.html, right? So whatever the questions that we have generated with the help of function home, same function that we can display our all the questions, all the MCQ questions with the help of history function, and then we can store our download.html file, so that the later part whenever it's required that we can download our complete questions, right? So let me render here. So we are going to render, so return, we can call first return a render, and here we are going to call a request, and the HTML file that we are going to call, so download.html file. Right now if I show you, so we did not have the download. Okay, so we have the download.html file, but this is the empty file that we have. Okay, so we can write a code later part in this particular file. Now we are going to create a variable, so data equal to, so we are going to create a data variable, and with the help of this particular data variable we are going to store our complete quizzes, whatever the quizzes that we will get with the help of this particular function that we can store first of all over our data variable. So let me define a code here, so data, and here we are going to define our print all questions. So this particular function that we are going to define here, so print all function, so that we can print out our complete questions, whatever the questions that we have generated. Now we are going to create a class, so class, and we are going to call a class name called test view, so test list view, and in this particular test list view that we are going to pass a argument called template view, so template view. So first of all that we need to import the template view, so let me check it out here. So yes, we have imported a template view, so from Django.views.generic, and then we are going to import a template view. Okay, now we are going to call one variable, so template underscore name equal to, here we are going to call our HTML file, so download.html file that we are going to call. Now we are going to create a function so that we can access our all the information, all the data information. It means all the MCQ questions, whatever the questions that we have generated with the help of this particular function. So we can access a complete questions, and then we can store over our download.html file. So let me create a function here, so define a function to get a context of the data, context of our data. Again here we are going to define argument called self, and second argument that we are going to define quarks. Okay, now after that let me create a variable, so context equal to, we are going to initialize a super class here, so super dot, we are going to call our function, so get context data, and again here we are going to call a quarks class. Okay, now after that we are going to call this particular data variable, so context, from the context here we are going to call a data equal to a data. Now after that we can return our context variable. Okay, so with the help of this particular history variable, first of all that we are going to check our all the history questions, like let's say that we have run a total 3 times, that we have generated a MCQ question total 3 times. In this case all the 3 times questions and the answers that we can store over our render.html file. So first that we can store our databases, and after the database then we can download with the help of download.html file. Okay, now what I'm going to do, so next let's define a function to download a data. So first this particular history function that we have created, so that we can store a complete questions and the answer in this particular function, our history function. Now we are going to create a function to download our complete data, so define a function to download our complete data. Here we are going to call a request first, and second argument that we are going to define a test ID. What is the meaning of the test ID here? So test ID, it means let's say that we have generated a total 3 times questions. Okay, so 3 times MCQ questions that we have created. So first test ID that we can start with the 1, then second test ID, and then third test ID. Again in our all the test ID, every time let's say that we have generated a question, so questions and the answer that we have generated. So again this particular question and answer start with index number 1, index number 2, 3, 4, and the so on, right? So same manner, so that's why here we are going to call a test ID. It means from the first MCQ questions we are going to call the question number 1, 2, 3, and 4, that we can iterate all the questions and then we can download. Okay, so now here we are going to create a variable, so test equal to, so this is the test variable that we are going to define, and here we are going to call the generator expression. Okay, generator expression along with our next function, so that we can access the first element in our, whenever we are going to iterate our data variable, this particular data variable, because in this particular data variable we have our all the questions, so print all the questions, so we have our all the questions. So from this particular function we are going to iterate first element, okay, with the help of next function. So let me write a code. So here we are going to write a code. So next, after that we are going to use here generator expression. So let me use a generator expression. So for t in data, so we are going to iterate all the questions from our data variable. If t of 0, so we are going to call the first element equal to test id. So this particular test id that we are going to define test id, and after that we can return what? So here we can return t, but that we are going to return a t, else that we can return none here, none. Okay, so this is the complete generator expression that we are going to define with the help of next function, so that we can access the first element, or we can say that we can iterate the first element from our data variable. So that's why we are going to call t of 0. It means the first element that we are going to iterate here. Okay, now what I'm going to do next, that we are going to write a if else condition. So if test equal to, so this particular test variable that we are going to call, so if test header equal to test of first, it means that we are able to access the first element, then we are going to call a questions variable. So questions equal to a test2. So first that we are going to call the header one, and from the header one that we are going to call the questions. Okay, now a file name equal to, we are going to save a data, all the questions in this particular file name variable. So if string, and in a if string that we are going to call our file name called test underscore, and in this case that we can call the test id. So test underscore id. So with the help of test id dot txt, so whatever the questions that we will get here in our data variable, that we can store in this particular txt file. Okay, now with open, so we are going to open our file now. So open our file name, second argument that we are going to write in w, so write mode. So we are going to write the complete information or complete questions in this particular file name. If dot write, so now we are going to write our complete questions. So here that we can pass a questions, so questions. Okay, so first of all that we are going to open our txt file, and after opening a txt file, then we are going to write a complete questions, whatever the questions that we have get here, with the help of print all questions function. Okay, now let's try to define our file path. So file underscore path equal to os dot path dot join. So os dot path dot join. So we are going to define, okay, so from where that we can store this particular txt file. So we are going to store our txt file in our root directory. So the root directory that we have a quiz project. So here we are going to call os dot get cwd. So get cwd, it means that we are going to find out a current working directory, and in our current working directory we are going to store our file name of this particular txt file. Now we need to import a os library. So let me go above, and here we are going to import os library. Okay, now we are able to save our txt file in our current working directory. Now we need a responses as well, right? So here we are going to create a response variable, response equal to, now we are going to call http response. So http response, and here first that we are going to open our file. So let me open our file path. So this particular file path in a rb mode. So here we are going to read information, whatever the information that we have saved in this particular file. So okay, so we have a indentation a issue, yeah. So we are going to read our file. After that, again here we are going to call our next argument called context type. So content underscore type equal to, here we can call our text file. So text and we have our txt file, so we can call the plain file. Okay, so txt file, it means the plain file that we are going to call. Now next we are going to create we are going to call this particular response variable, so response, and with the help of response variable then we are going to call our complete description. So content description equal to if string, and here we are going to call the attachment, so attachment. Now after that attachment second that we can call here file name, so file name equal to header, so here that we are going to call our header, so header dot txt, header dot txt that we are going to define here. Okay, now next what we can do, so next that we can okay, so header, and at the end after that we can return a responses. Okay, so now let me call the responses, so return a response. Okay, so in this way that we are going to call our get request, and after getting the complete request then we can return our complete information, whatever the information that we have stored. Okay, now after that we can write a else statement as well, so let me write the else statement, so else return our else, and this is the next line. Okay, so again this particular things in the next line that we can write, not this one, so this one, so return http response, so we are going to return http response, and here we are going to call a test not found, test not found. Okay, so this particular return statement that we are going to call in a else statement. Okay, now with the help of this particular function, first of all that we are going to create a file, and then we are going to store our complete information, whatever the questions and the answers that we have created in this particular txt file, and after that we are going to open this particular file so that we can get our complete information, a complete questions and the answer, and then we can download. Okay, now what we are going to do, so now let me jump into our download.html file so that we can call our all the html files. So let me go over our download.html file, so this is the download.html file that we have, and for this one that I already have the complete code, so let me define here a complete code. So what we are going to do here, so first of all that we are going to load our static file. Now we are going to define a title called quiz app. Here we are going to define our generator, so question generator my quiz, and here we have a section called download a quiz. So whatever the test data that we are getting from our views file, views.py file, so from here that we are going to call for test in our data, and then we are going to download our all the questions. Okay, now after that what we can do, so we can call our urs.py file so that we can define our path. So let me jump into our first of all our project file, so under the project that we have our urs.py file, even let me write it down first under the urs.py file under our quiz underscore app directory, same way whatever the process that we have followed. Okay, now what we are going to do, so here again that we are going to call a path function, and as we all know this particular path function, first of all that we need to define here our file name. So first that I'm going to define the empty string, and after the empty string then we are going to include here, so include, and this time that we are going to include our quiz app. So from the quiz app, okay, so this is our quiz app file that we have, under the quiz app that we are going to write, right? So in this case first of all that we need to define the history function, so let me define our function name, so let me jump here, and this particular function that we are going to call the history function, so let me copy this particular function name from here. Here we are going to define our history function, and after that history function, and let me write it down on the slash. Now after that what I'm going to do here, so here I'm going to call our class, so the class name that we have here our test list view, so this particular class that we are going to call, so let me call here a test list view, and then okay, so we need to import first of all, so let me import here, so here that we are going to call from dot views, and from the dot views that we are going to import our test list view, and second that we can call our download function. Okay, so these two functions that we are going to call now, test list view, and here that we are going to define as underscore view, and after that we are going to call a name, so name equal to the name that I'm going to define, test underscore list. Okay, now one more that we can define for our next function that we have here, a download function. So let me define for a download function. Let me go back again. Here we are going to call a path function. So path, again that we can call our function name. So function name that we have a download. So download slash, let me write it down, slash as well. And here that we are going to define our, okay, so which file that we want to define based upon the test ID, the test ID number 1, first time that we have run. So if I show you again, so here as you can see, the first time quiz data, second time quiz data, or the third time quiz data. So in this case that we need to define integer, so integer value, and based upon the integer value that we need to call here, we have a test ID. So based upon the test ID, so test ID number 1, 2, 3, so which one that we want to download, so integer test ID, here that we can call the test ID, that we can close. Next that we can download, we can define the variable called download variable, a download function variable, not a download variable directly, download function. Now we can define a name, so name equal to, here we are going to call a test underscore download. Okay, so now we are able to call all three functions. First is a home function, second is a history function, and third is a download function. Now let's try to jump into our quiz project directory. So this is the quiz project directory that we have, and here we have our urls.py file. Now let me write a code here. So here that we need to include only the history one. So let me include here. So path, we are going to call our function, path function, again that we are going to call the history here. So history slash, now after that we can include, so we are going to include our, which one, our this particular URL. So let me copy this particular complete code from here, and let me paste the complete things here. Okay, now let me add a comma here. So yes, we are able to define our path functions as well, where we are going to call the history. Okay, now it's time to run our application. So let me open my terminal from here. So terminal, first of all I'm going to activate my environment. So let me activate, so conda activate env. Okay, so let me open the command prompt from here. Let me activate the environment. So conda activate env. Now I'm going to jump into our quiz project directory. Under this particular directory, so cd quiz underscore project. Now let me clear the screen, and now we are going to run our manage.py file. So python manage.py run server. Let me press the enter button. Let's wait a few seconds till the execution, and then we can open our application. So yes, performing the system check, no issue, system check identify, no issue, 0. Okay, November 14th. Now that we are getting the complete link, so let me copy this particular complete link. Let me copy, let me open my browser, and here that I'm going to paste. So now this is the application that we have, right? Now what I'm going to do, so let me copy one link. So this is the link that we have, our website link. From this particular website, what I'm going to do, so I'm going to copy some of the text. So let me copy this particular complete text from here to here. Let me go over our application. So here that I'm going to paste, and let me create the questions. Just wait a few seconds. It will take a few seconds to generate a complete questions. Now you can see here we are getting the complete questions. So what is the estimated amount of Dogen that had been received by the wallets linked to the Hamas military? So $40,000. Now second question that we have, the third questions that we have, so what is the estimated amount of the money that Hamas received annually from the Qatar? So $360 million, and so on, the total fourth questions that we have. Okay, but here we are not getting the, okay, so generate questions. So let me click on the generate questions here. Now my quiz. Okay, so here we are getting the error, request method called get we have the error switch file, request file, metadata program data that we have here. Let me check it out once. So package file, line number views a line number 37. As you can see, get context data. So let me jump into our views.py file, a views.py file. So under our quiz project that we have views.py file, and in this particular file that we have the error, a line number, let me check it out once. So line number 37. Okay, so let me jump. So line number 37 that we have, so here we are going to call our context data. Okay, so this particular data that I need to write in this way. Okay, so now I hope this is fine. So let me open my browser, let me clear the screen, let me rerun. Okay, so now as you can see, if I go back over the 8000, let me write it down the complete text. So not this one, so this particular complete text that I'm going to copy from here. So the selected one, let me go over the application, let me paste and generate the questions. Okay, so just wait a few more seconds. So now as you can see, these are the some of the questions that we are getting. So what is the name of Sam Bankman Friday cryptocurrency empire? So yes, the questions that we are getting, the correct answer is, again, so little bit the here that we have the issue. So correct answer is A, correct answer is FTX. Now here that we have the correct answer is A, correct answer is 5. Okay, so yes, we are able to generate our complete questions. Now if I show you our VS Code, so right now till here as you can see, we have our questions.db. So we are able to store our complete questions in our databases. Now what I'm going to do, so let me go here over our application, let me click on the quiz generator questions. So yes, that we are getting our home page. Now let me click on my quiz section, so my quiz, and in our my quiz as you can see, we have our download quiz section. So in our download quiz section, we have our all the generated questions as well as answers. So let me click on the last one as lower. So here that I'm going to click now. Okay, so now I'm getting the error in a views.py file, a line number 54. Okay, so line number 54 that we have the issues now. So let me go under our VS Code and let's verify why we are getting the error here. So line number 54 under the views.py file. So this is the views.py file that we have, and the line number 54. So in a 54 line number that we are going to call here the responses, and the responses that we have a description. Okay, so this particular, let me check it out once. Here the issue, attribute string object has no attribute called txt. So attribute object has no attribute called txt. So let me check once. Here we are calling our header dot. Okay, so header we need to write in this way. So header dot txt. Okay, so in this way that we need to write, and the context type that we have the plain, and here that we need to write a context disposition. So not a description, it's a context disposition. Okay, after that we have a attachment and the file name. Now let me jump into our browser. Now let me rerun. Okay, so now as you can see, we are able to download. So let me go back again. Now let me jump into the other file. Now as you can see, we are able to download here. So we have a two file, layers.txt and the under his.txt. Let me verify in our VS Code. So this is the VS Code that we have, and here as you can see, we are able to download the second file, test2.txt, and under the test2.csv we have our complete questions as well as answer. So the correct answer is Padma Vibhushan, and this is the second correct answer that we have. Now let me jump into the test3. So again, this is the test3 file that we have, and here we are getting our complete answer. So questions, and this is the answers that we are getting, D, A, after that we have the D and the D. So these are the complete answers that we are getting. Okay, now what I can do, let me go over our browser again. Now let me download this one, the first file. Now as you can see, we will get the file called our as loss.txt. Now let me jump into our here. So yes, test1.txt that we have, and in our test1.txt we are getting our complete questions as well as answers along with the questions that we are getting. Okay, so B, A, B, so these are the options answers that we have. Okay, so now in our application that we are able to add a download section, we are able to create a complete quiz, and whatever the quiz that we have created, now we are able to download. Again, that you can check with some other text as well. So what I'm going to do, so again let me copy some other text, so from here, or let me go back and let me search some other blog. So from here that I'm going to select some other blogs. Let me find out some new blogs. So here what I'm going to do, so let me search cryptocurrency blogs, or let me search a cryptocurrency news. And from here that we are going to select, we can select some of the text from here. So from this particular news portal, I just need some of the text, so that again that we can generate some of the questions. So that's why I search this one. Okay, so again here that we have this is, so what I can do, let me open this particular website from here. So this one, let's open this one. Okay, now from here that I'm going to select some of the text. So let me copy some of the text from here. Now copy, let me go over our application, let me paste and generate a questions. Okay, so now that we are getting the issue, so what is the issue that we have? So the model maximum context length is 4097 and tokens, where we have mentioned a browser called 3500. So because we have the access the complete limit, so that's why we are getting this one. So what I'm going to do, let me remove some of the text from here. So these are the some of the text that I'm going to remove. Let me generate, because we have set the limit at 3500, right? So that's why. Now here we have a generated question. So what is the main point of text? So we have this one, the answer is, correct answer is B. Now what is the analogy used in the text? So answer is the blind man and the elephant. So these are the questions that we are able to create and the answer. Now let me click on the quizzes. Now as you can see, the total 4 questions that we are getting. Okay, so let me download the last one. So yes, we are able to download the last questions. Now let me go over our VS Code. So yes, that we have the test_4.txt, where we have our complete question. Okay, not this one, this one, no, not this one, not this one, not this one. Okay, so what is the file name? File name that we have here, a 2.txt, right? So this part, no, not this one, 2.txt, that we have this one, 4th correct answers. What is the same, even that we can check it out in our download section as well. So look like here the file name mismatch that we have. Okay, so even that we can check it out in a download section. So yes, this is the download section that I have, and this particular questions that we are able to generate. Okay, so now if I show you, so as you can see, so this one, last one that we have, right? So let me check it out once. Yes, so this is the complete questions. No, not this one. Like in our application that we have some different types of the questions, where I have what is the pain point. So let me open from here. This one, no. So again, okay, so look like that we have downloaded some other files. So let me go back here. Now let me check it out, this one. So again, this is that we have downloaded some other files. So under his, let me check it out, this one. So again, the Vivek Oberoi. Okay, so yeah, that now we are able to get our complete answers in our txt file. Okay, so in this way what we can do, so we can store our complete questions in our txt file. Even all the first of all that we are going to fetch from our databases. So from this particular databases that we are going to fetch our complete questions, and then we have set our complete download section, so that we can download our complete questions and the answers in a txt format. Okay, so yes, this is all about our MCQs quiz generation project. Now what I'm going to do, so I'm going to do some of the modification in our application in this particular UI. Let me add some of the CSS part as well, so that it looks good. Okay, and after that I will upload the updated project, where I'm going to update our HTML and the CSS project, and then I will upload over the dashboard. Okay, so yes guys, This is all about our projects. If you are watching this particular projects over the YouTube, make sure you can hit the like button, subscribe the channel and share with your friends. Thank you guys.